Welcome to Cardamina this morning. Today we're going to take the ferry across to Nisyros. We've got our tickets. It's about 9:30 the ferry. It's about 10 to 9 currently, and it's 27 degrees already. So we're going to get on this ferry and make our way across the sea to the island and have a look around. Get a buggy. Go see Volcano and some various other stuff. I'm looking forward to the beach buggy ride anyway, but that'll be cool.
Monastery.
Yeah. Monastery.
Little towns.
Yeah, we'll have a little look.
Maybe an abandoned hotel.
Well, we should be able to see that, yeah. But yeah, let's go and wait for this ferry and get on. Hopefully it'll be a bit cooler on the sea with the sea breeze because it's red hot already. Our day on Nisyros began down at the harbour in Mandraki, where we hired a beach buggy from three brothers. It was such a fun way to explore the island, the kind of thing that instantly puts you in holiday mode. With the sun shining, the sea glittering beside us, and the little engine buzzing away, we couldn't stop laughing as we set off along the coastal road. There's something about driving a buggy that makes even this little day trip feel like an adventure. Right, so we've parked up our little beach buggy. We're now walking our way up to the monastery through all these little roads, little paths. It's not far up the hill. Hopefully we're going to beat the coach tour.
Mandraki, the island's main town and port, has been the centre of life on Nisyros for centuries. Built at the foot of volcanic cliffs, it combines island charm and a sense of history. The maze of narrow lanes is lined with whitewashed houses, stone courtyards and neoclassical buildings reflecting the island's prosperous past. Along the seafront, tavernas and fishing boats remind you that Mandraki is closely tied to the sea. And high above the town overlooking the harbour stands the monastery of Panagia Spiliani, one of the most important landmarks on Nisyros.
It's best to visit the monastery of Panagia Spiliani early, Before the heat sets in and the tours arrive, the climb is definitely a workout. The whitewashed steps wind up the rocky hillside above Mandraki, with views opening out over the town and the Aegean Sea. At the top, the monastery seems built into the cliff itself, partly blending with the cool, shaded cave. Found in the Byzantine period, it's dedicated to the Virgin Mary and has long been a place of pilgrimage for locals. Inside, the quiet is almost tangible, the air filled with candlelight and soft-scented incense, while the terrace gave us a sweeping panorama view across the town and sea, making every step of the climb worthwhile.
We've been to the monastery. It cost us €2 each to get in. We just beat the tour, so as you've seen in that clip, it's quite a small little monastery, and there must have been knocking on 50 people trying to get in there after us.
There's a queue up the stairs.
Yeah, so 100 steps, and I reckon there was a queue most of the way up, so we timed that very well. So now let's get back to the buggy and carry on.
From Mandraki, it's just a short drive along the coast to Pali, a quiet harbour that feels worlds away from the busier port. Built around a sheltered bay, the town has been a fishing and trading spot for centuries, and today small fishing boats and yachts rest side by side in the marina. The waterfront is lined with family-run cafes, shops and a church almost touching the water, and visitors relaxing under the shade of the tamarisk trees. It's the kind of place where time slows down, perfect for a gentle stroll along the quay, leisurely brunch, or a swim in the turquoise water before exploring the rest of the island.
just outside Pali, we visited one of the island's most intriguing sights, the abandoned spa hotel right by the sea. It began as a traditional thermal bath complex that was later expanded, but the work was never finished, and no one really knows why. We explored the old baths and central section where the wide staircase and tall arches were clearly meant to form a grand entrance. Now the sea breeze drifts through the empty corridors, carrying the sound of waves into the dark, unfinished rooms, eerie and haunting, yet very peaceful.
Try and take a walk down the front. We can't enter the building, but the gate's open, so let's go and have a look. Right, so Hells has informed me that these actually, when I said they're underwater, it's because these were the old thermal baths. So it's actually designed like this. These would have been where you come and have a bit of a plunge in the thermal baths.
About halfway along are the top ones, the top level ones, like that.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you would have sat in,
Excellent.
with the kind of hole. buggy driving?
An experience, yeah, definitely an experience. Probably can't hear a word of that. On the noisy engine.
Twisty roads. Leaving the coast behind, the buggy took us up into the hills of Nisyros. The road climbs steeply via hairpin bends, with views over the Aegean and the coastline we've just explored. Olive trees and dry stone terraces line the route, reminders of the island's agricultural past. Emporios appears as a quiet cluster of whitewashed houses clinging to the hillside. From the parking near the village, we followed the path up to the viewpoint overlooking the volcano. From here, we got our first view of the dramatic landscape of craters and sulphur-stained rock stretching below us. On the way down, the narrow lanes took us past houses destroyed in an earthquake, the empty rooms and crumbling walls giving a glimpse of the village's past.
From Emporios, the road continues higher into the mountains before descending towards Nikia, perched on the rim of the volcano. Its white houses with blue trimmed windows stand sharply against the rocky landscape. We stopped in the small square for a smoothie at Cafe Porter, a perfect spot to rest in the shade below the church. The village has a long history, with origins tracing back to the medieval period, when Nikia was an important settlement on the island. A short walk from the square leads to a viewpoint offering one of the best perspectives over the caldera, with the volcanic rock and ongoing geothermal activity that reminds you Nisyros is still very much alive.
Stopped for some refreshment at a Cafe Porter, I think it's called. Yeah, Porter, in the square at Nikia. Is that right?
Nokia, I think.
Nokia. And we've ordered a number 1 and a number 2, which is fruit juice. I've gone for a strawberry one, and yours I think is a mango one.
It is.
It's a mango one, and this is thick, fresh, and just ground. We've just had them with the blender with it, so this is going to be very nice. And it's very cold, that's very nice. Probably made with ice as well. Yeah, that's really good. Really, really good actually. I'm going to continue. You can stop filming.
Before leaving Nikia, we visited the small church of Prophet Elias, perched high above the village. Rather than walk in the heat, we drove up the mountain track until the white chapel came into view. Prophet Elias, known in the Old Testament as Elijah, is a prophet often associated with mountaintops and the meeting of heaven and earth. Standing there in the stillness, it's easy to see why many hilltop chapels in Greece bear his name. The panorama from this peaceful, remote spot was breathtaking, like being on top of the world, with the Aegean stretching endlessly on one side and Volcanic Crater on the other.
From the mountains we drove down to the heart of the island and the caldera itself, where the landscape changes again. The green hills give way to rockier ground, and soon the vast Stefanos Crater opens up before us, one of the largest hydrothermal craters in the world. Formed around 3,000 years ago, it's about 300 metres across and 30 metres deep. The surface is made up of layers of ash, pumice and yellow sulphur crystals, evidence of the island's still active volcanic system. Though there hasn't been an eruption here in modern times, steam vents and fumaroles still release heat from below, making the hot day feel even hotter on the walk into the crater.
We're now descending into the Stefanos Crater. Apparently it is so hot at times that it can burn the soles of your shoes, so we've got old trainers on today, and there's a lovely eggy smell of sulphur reminiscent of Iceland. Let's go and have a look. Leaving the crater behind, we set off in the buggy along the concrete new road that loops around the south of the island. The road is carved into the hillside, winding its way through a rugged, sun-bleached landscape with the deep blue of the Aegean often in sight. Around every corner there's another breathtaking view, and the buggy made the drive exciting, nimble on the twisty road. This new stretch of road really shows off Nisyros' dramatic contrasts, steep volcanic cliffs rising above old agricultural terraces and a rocky drop to the sea below. As we curved back down towards Mandraki, the road brought us to Paleokastro, our final stop of the day.
Right, so we've left the volcano and the crater behind, and we're now at Paleokastro, which is our pretty much final stop
It is.
of our trip to Nisyros today. And then we're going to head back and get the ferry.
Yeah.
It's about
Back to Kos.
a couple hours, I think, until the ferry comes. So we'll go visit this and then possibly go and have a drink on the seaside. Maybe. We'll see. And maybe an ice cream. Maybe. But yeah, it's been extremely hot today. This buggy's been incredible to drive around in, just for the air blasting around you. It's been excellent. So let's go and have a look around here.
We parked just below the steps to Paleokastro and walked up to its ancient walls. Built by the ancient Greeks around the 4th century BC, during the time when Nisyros was part of the Dorian Hexapolis, the fortress protected the main settlement and harbour below. Its position high above the coast gave clear views of any approaching ships, and the huge basalt blocks were fitted together without mortar, strong enough to withstand both attacks and earthquakes. After exploring the rebuilt sections and taking in the view across the town, mountains and back to Kos, we set off one last time, following the road back down towards Mandraki and the beach bar.
have a beer again. He's finished driving the buggy. So we are on the seafront. We've got iced tea, we've got mythos, we've got ice cream coming. Cheers. See you next time.
Beautiful.